So coaches, as you're filtering in, just a couple things. Coach Davis was on the Coaching Coordinator podcast last week, did an outstanding job on quarterback development and just talking a little bit about what he does, his background. I think the two main topics we covered there was quarterback development and efficient game planning. So for any of the guests here, most of them do have an episode or two with me. If you follow me at Coach K. Grabowski on Twitter, you'll be able to find all those links as well as any kind of articles we might have done on the coach, et cetera. So again, at Coach K. Grabowski on Twitter. I'm excited just to be able to introduce these coaches. I work at USA Football, and our team there has put together what's called the Football Development Model. High school coaches, I really want you to check this out. It is definitely a good resource for you to help build your youth programs all the way up to high school. I know the guys we've had in our pilot program have seen a lot of success, and this is all about teaching progressions. This is about game types, et cetera. Check that out at usafootball.com in the resource tab, Football Development Model. So without further ado, I'm going to turn this over to Coach Davis. I'm really excited to have met him just here in the last couple of weeks. And as I said, he did an outstanding job on our podcast. He's here today to talk to you about all position screen game, and I'm excited about this topic. So, Coach, I'm going to kick it right over to you.
Thanks, Keith. I appreciate you guys having me on, and just the coaches that are in the room. I've got some great text messages from some buddies in the profession that are joining us this morning, and I've mentioned this to Keith before, but anytime we're doing these type of clinics, whether they're in person or online, we can all learn from each other. So if guys are dropping questions in there, or, even a different way to do it, I'm definitely all ears and always trying to learn as much. So I'll kind of get cooking through this thing, and I don't want to talk too much. And I've got some text that's going to pop up here on the screen. If anybody does not feel like writing this down, I get it. And you want me to email this presentation to you, I have no problem. This is not anything earth-shatteringly specific maybe to our offense. It's more a set of rules that we really live by. And then the video I'm going to show is really video from all three levels that I've coached. And I guess the reason behind that would be that to show you that you can apply it, I think, to any level, whether it be high school or small college or Division I or whatever the case may be, and how to practice this thing. So I'll kind of start buzzing through this a little bit. And what we've tried to do, really the base philosophy of the all position screen game, is to create a set of rules for the offensive line and the screenee. So the running back, the tight end, the wide receiver, whomever you're going to get the football to, and really make sure that those rules are blanketed across all the screens. And then as the play caller or the coaches, you can dress those screens up however you see fit, with a motion or a shift or however you want to do that. But here's some of the things that we're just trying to accomplish with this screen game. I would preface all of this by saying much of the success of screens that you will have is timing of the call. Certainly you're trying to get some of these things into some certain looks. And I would also take it a step further saying, I've had years as a play caller where we were just really excellent at all screens. And I think that was a combination of a lot of things: personnel, timing of calls, communication of the offensive line, looks we were getting. And I've had other years where we sort of struggled through some screens, and this past season was one of them where we were not an extremely productive screen game. That being said, this is something that we want to get back more into here at Albany and are going to continue to work on. Just like anything, you get what you emphasize, you're going to have to emphasize it. So, obviously you're trying to create extensions of the running game through screens, create quarterback confidence with easy completions. Just trying to get this guy cooking. You're not giving him a ton of reads. This doesn't really require a lot of pre-snap identification and post-snap confirmation and type of things. You can gain momentum. You're trying to establish some rhythm based on the quarterback's ability to get the ball out of his hands. and obviously, and we've all heard it as coaches for many years, that you're trying to get your good players the ball in space. You know, I mentioned this at a clinic about a month ago. I do think that good offenses have hopefully one or two guys that you literally should be charting targets for in the game. And that being said, that you have an All-American receiver or a dynamic playmaker, and you get to halftime and you have a coach charting that and say, well, this guy's only got 2 targets so far in this game. And then you look on the scoreboard and you're like, well, no wonder we only have 7 points. You know, so this is another way to try to force some targets into your good players, and then you can move those guys around. Every eligible player really should have some sort of screen built into the system for him, because it can create another aspect of a play action type game. So tight ends on crossing routes, or receivers on cross country routes, or double post shots, all those things are play action. But this is another way to complement what you do in the run and or drop back pass game to get these guys targets. Number 6 there, I mentioned, you know, the best way to become a multiple screen team is really to keep things the same for all the linemen across the board. And then really when we start this thing out, we're going to have one set of screen rules that really apply to all the screens that we run. It doesn't matter who's getting the ball. And then we can expand on that. Once that baseline set of rules are applied and repped, now you can start to build off that. And the reason I say that, and I think it has a lot of merit, and I tell this to our players, I said, we could call 10 screens and you're going to get 10 different pictures on the perimeter. You know, you just are based on what that defense is doing. So repetition certainly is key, like anything else is. Just really quickly here, and then I'm going to talk about the screen, but to me, this is something that's been really productive over the years, and just trying to rule up the offensive lineman, that lineman's got to get a great pre-snap read, right? He's just got to get a good idea of who potentially is on the perimeter before that ball is snapped. He's got to get his eyes out there. I've heard people talk about this. It's still hard to teach consistently based on the technique of the defensive lineman, but we want all the linemen that are releasing to set to the screen side. We never want them to engage 2 hands on a defensive lineman. Obviously, a lot easier if a screen is going to the left and the left guard can set left on a 3 technique. It's a little bit easier for him in terms of the engagement. A right guard with a screen going to the left that has a 3 technique on him, he obviously cannot vacate that 3 technique, right? We don't want down linemen running scot-free at the quarterback, but he's going to really do everything he can to keep his screen side arm free. Linemen must never block blitzers. That's a quarterback's job. Certainly you're going to take it a step further with your guys, that you definitely want to take a chunk out of mugged players on the interior. Again, you don't want guys running from the line of scrimmage into the quarterback's face, but the quarterback is going to be drilled and taught on how to beat blitzers. And then this really, I think, is a key point, and has been for us. Offensive linemen must release to their landmark, not a defensive player. If I ask one of my 3 interior offensive linemen to chase a linebacker or safety in space, it's a losing cause every single time. But if the running back or the wide receiver knows the tracks that the linemen are taking, him being the more athletic player has the ability to use those guys in space. So we give the screen side guard aiming for the top of the numbers 5 yards up the field. He protects his screen side alley. Okay, and I'm going to talk more about that in this next clip. We want to force defenders out the back door. Okay, we want defenders in more of a force mindset rather than a spill mindset, if that makes sense. I want the defenders wide because I'm going to teach the ball carrier that once he catches this screen, whether it be a receiver screen, a running back screen, whatever it is, that we want to get vertical up the field. We want to be right off the butts of those offensive linemen. Okay. Number 6, once on the perimeter, offensive linemen have non-negotiable cut blocks. Certainly this is something that is probably not as non-negotiable as it once was with the new rules and cut blocks. An offensive lineman is going to have a lot more success throwing his body out there in space and letting the skill guy work than trying to break down in space and get a chunk of guys. And again, we're trying to force them out the back door, working for that high hip, same arm, same leg type cut block. And then offensive linemen must never run by a sitting zone defender. So, for example, that center is going to release out on the screen, and the will linebacker doesn't really get into a pass drop. He just kind of hangs right at about 5 or 6 yards. We've got to lock on and block that guy at that point. We don't want that guy to disrupt the screen. We're going to lose the offensive lineman. We're willing to lose the offensive lineman on the next level to just engage that initial screen disruptor there within the play. So when you look at this screen landmark here, and I'm going to draw a little bit on this, this is obviously, this ball is sort of placed right in the middle of the field. We will screen both sides. So we'll screen boundary and we will screen the field. I think initially, and this is my opinion, you're going to have a little bit more success early in your screen installation with the boundary screens because the linemen have less space to cover, right? They've got just less room back there. But when you look at this picture, and I'm going to talk here about the left guard, this is really his alley that he's protecting. So going back to what I talked about before with the pre-snap read, he's looking out here to determine who's going to be in his alley, and he's going to block anything from his landmark towards the line of scrimmage. That's his alley, okay? The landmark for the center, the second releasing lineman, is 5 yards to the screen side hash, and then where I'm drawing these yellow lines, that's his alley, okay? And then like a lot of people, we have this rat killer who's going to set to the screen side, and his coaching point should really be to scrape the butt cheeks of the center coming back, looking to read a defensive lineman. This guy's block may be more key than anybody. Obviously, if spread offenses have evolved, defensive linemen are really good at reading screens. Our coaches here at U Albany, it's hard sometimes to get screens off in practice because they do such a great job reading the screens. But really being able to rep this and rep these landmarks and these tracks is really, really important. We actually will have a screen period in practice on air. And so where I have these defenders lined up here, we'll put our scout team or the second team offense out here with agile bags, okay? And that we'll let the first offense get out here and run 3 screens, okay? And getting out in their landmarks, we'll have these scout defensive linemen rushing vertical. Again, this is a screen period to work on the timing and the reps of it. In a scout period, it's harder to screen. You got scout defensive linemen that are just standing there. Maybe guys aren't rushing. Maybe you're not getting the exact look, and then that particular play is disrupted. So we really don't script screens into the scout period, okay? We'll actually take this 5 or 10 minute period and just try to get a mad rep screen period with landmarks and timing. And then the first offense will go to defense. The second offense will come behind. The third offense runs sort of in a clockwise type mentality to get as many screen reps as we can get that look clean. Okay, but that's a very generic picture of it. And the key to this, in my opinion, one of the keys here on the perimeter, and a lot of people have different opinions on this, I want the number one receiver to spider and stalk that cornerback. I've seen more screens disrupted by this corner because the wide receiver's taught a push crack or he's taught a runoff and all these type of things. And a little corner comes up here and disrupts the screen. So we're gonna tell that number one receiver to go ahead and stalk out that corner, take him where he wants to go. The ball carrier is going to have to make you right. At least that we've got hands on that guy, and the lineman can worry about more linebacker type safety bodies. Okay, and I'll talk some here about the formations. We're going to talk about the running back screen first. As Keith mentioned earlier, I'm big on buzzwords. I'm big on creating some vocabulary that your players can then say back to you in a meeting room. To me, when you can hear some of these buzz phrases being spoken back to you in a meeting room, it should be music to your ears as a coach. But we talk about being clean. He must not get tangled up or caught by defensive linemen or blitzing defenders. This number 2 point is really important. The running back must accelerate to the line of scrimmage, hesitate to be clean, and then accelerate to the catch and get vertical off the releasing offensive lineman's tails. We use another buzz phrase, a hop, skip, and a jump into action to give the quarterback the window to deliver the football. I'm big here on this slip screen, guys. And again, this is me. He can never settle or stop. He will accelerate out of the box if necessary. If the quarterback has to run away from pressure or run away from a sitting defensive end to get that ball out, we will do that. And my philosophy behind that is that I don't want one of my best players catching a ball stationary with his back to the defense. I just think it's really tough. I want my guy on the run. At least that way, if the blocks aren't clean, the angles aren't clean, it gives him a shot to catch the football on the move in space and do what he does best. Okay, so certainly there's a variety of drills that you can do with hand shields, with the arm warriors, all these type of things as a running back coach to simulate some trash, so to speak, on the inside. The other thing about the slip screen with the tailback that I think has a lot of merit is that, like a lot of spread teams that are running in their drop back game some form of a jet protection, man protection to one side, zone or slide to another side. This really looks like that protection. It looks like it based on the alignment of the back. It looks like it based on the sets and the movement initially of the offensive lineman. So you really have a shot to pop this screen out here against a lot of different looks, okay? So let's take a look at some video here. And, I'm not showing you guys highlight videos. This is the good, the bad, and the ugly. This is some practice clips. Real quick as we go into it, and I'm just going to kind of rewind and talk through the positions here. This is another good tip for young coaches, I think, as you're teaching plays, run plays, pass plays, screen. You always want to talk about the point of attack first. Where's this play going to get started first? Okay. So I'm a big believer in that if you can generate some rotation based on a formation or a motion, you love to do it and get the screen pop back away from rotation. So here's a favorable look initially for us is that, we're getting a 5-man pressure here, a little 3-deep fire zone, but really our defense is dropping that boundary defensive end out, which is really a little sticky for the screen because you don't know exactly where that guy's going to go. But again, let's trust here that we can really work our landmarks. Let's not chase in space is the coaching point that I like to use. So as we go through it here, we're motioning from 2x2 to 3x1. A couple things here. We'll look at the back end of it. What I like here initially is that the 3 releasing linemen are all setting to the screen side. The left guard, again, you talk about the point of attack, quote unquote. He does a nice job there just taking a chunk, and look at him release flat. And exactly, you can see now he's blocking that dropping defensive end, and he's forcing him what I call out the back door. That's we want that guy to force the play. We're totally fine with that based on what the running back is going to be taught. Okay, the center being the second guy out here, he's working for that hash. His landmark here is probably a little bit wider playbook talk, but he's in a ton of space right now, right? So he's in a ton of space. The coaching point for him in space is just run. Don't try to throttle down and block guys in space because you're going to probably block no one. Just keep running. Let the ball carrier make you right. Okay. Going back to this here now, the right guard, whom we've deemed as the rat killer, right, and has a stunting lineman across his face, does a pretty good job just taking some steam off him. And if I'm nitpicking him, I probably would still like him to keep his left arm free here so he doesn't get tangled up. Okay. But does a pretty good job. Okay. Let's look at the back end here. And I talked through those 3 releasing players. I really like the first step of the back, right? So the first step of the back here is really a simulation of what he would do if we were picking up this particular pressure, right? The defense is running this little cross dog here in double A gaps. Everybody in the country runs this version of a blitz. So it really looks like a nice drop back pass. And then remember the coaching points for the back: accelerate, hesitate, and accelerate, right? He's got to be some patience. He has to show some patience, especially in that A gap, and stay square and not have an avoidance demeanor, right? Immediately when he begins to shudder or turn his head or drop his shoulders, get skinny, someone's going to snip that screen and grab him on the inside. So this back does a good job, okay? Does a good job. All right. And then let's take it a step further here just to the quarterback. We're going to teach our normal big three footwork on this. And the key to the quarterback, this screen is a one-hit wonder, right? I mean, there is not a double screen. There's nothing going on here. If this screen is sniffed, he's going to be taught to knife this ball into the turf and live for another play. But two coaching points that are really key to the quarterback on this are, number one, that he should be staring his eyes away from the screen call, right? So this quarterback does a pretty good job of looking towards the field, and that the quarterback has to do what I call, you got to let him sniff you, okay? So if the quarterback continues to drift back here, one of those rushing players is going to stop, get a hand up on the screen, cause some disruption. So the quarterback does a nice job there of just hesitating just a little bit to let those blitzers get a little hungry and then drop that football. Certainly not a good throw, but does just enough to get this ball out, and then the ball carrier's in space, and we got some room to make a play here, okay? All right, some game clip here. If you look at it, all the same rules are going to apply. Similar mindset out of a different formation. We're just using this little speed motion here to create a 3-by-1. And again, you're getting the look that you want, right? I mean, look at the boundary safety here on our right, take off. The defense is in some sort of rotation, still going to just rush 4 guys, and they're dropping this boundary rush backer defensive end out. But again, that's a really nice surface to run the screen on. Let's just go back to the point of attack here. Look at the right guard. Good job, again, setting to the screen side, okay? And no one's engaging him, so his job, certainly this is a very favorable look for the right guard. His landmark, again, is 5 yards to the top of the numbers. Look at him. He's nice and flat. Nice job not chasing that guy back inside, knowing that at this point, that defensive end that's dropping is technically in the center's screen side alley, right? So what happens is if the right guard chases him back inside and the center also blocks him, now we end up wasting 2-on-1. And you certainly don't want to do that. You're going to have to live with that at times, but this is good discipline, okay? The center sees his screen side alley. Player really change alleys. So rather than chase him, his eyes should just go vertical. We say just get your eyes vertical. Every good offensive lineman always understands that defensive pursuit is coming from inside out. And so get your eyes up and get a chunk of somebody. Don't be indecisive there. Pick a guy, get a guy, okay? Let's look back here at the left guard, right? He's the rat killer. Way too engaged. If I'm coaching him here, right? Way too engaged for this guy, taking way too much time. He could have continued to set and probably taken 2 for 1, taken a couple chunks off both those players and came back for the rat. We don't get much out of the left guard there. Okay, don't get much out of left guard. Let's go back here, okay? The 3 linemen, okay? Talked about those guys. Look at the back. Again, I like the back's first step, right? Always stepping with the interior foot first vertically. Accelerate, hesitate, and accelerate out the back door, okay? And then the quarterback. Again, look at the quarterback's eyes to the field. Let him sniff you. This is the coaching point. And then drop that screen out. The other thing I would add here, and I'm going to show some video clips there as we get into this. All of these screens, especially this slip screen, but I would say all the screens, are going to have way more teeth if there's velocity on the throw, right? So we see screens sometimes that get popped over the head of linemen, floated, and they work. And this ball's okay. I think he sort of has to do that. But if the quarterback can find a little bit of an alley somewhere in there, or use the old Johnny Unitas jump throw and actually dot that screen right on the back, the quicker that the back has the ball in his hands, it's not rocket science, he's going to be able to figure out where he needs to go with it. So that's something that we work on a lot too, is that we don't want that screen floated out of there. We want it really dotted on the back. as quickly as we can get it on them. Another great coaching point for the quarterback that I talk about within the screens is that, and this is something we sort of laugh about. I said, your job as the quarterback is to somehow, some way make the play, right? If it's got to be the Matthew Stafford sidearm throw, if you've got to get up top and jump, if you've got to move, if you've got to run, there's no footwork rules or body demeanor rules on this, other than we don't want this ball tipped, right? We don't want a good screen that would have been a big hitter be snuffed out because you couldn't figure out a way to get this ball out, okay? Same screen going back here into the boundary. And the linemen are okay here. The difference in this particular clip that I would show is that now we're in a 2-by-2 formation. And what we would like to have happen is the number 2 receiver in the boundary to push crack the first backer inside the box, okay? Just to take some steam off that guy. You can see this receiver bypasses, probably not doing exactly what we would want him to do. And I would preface all this, coaches, by saying that doesn't change anything for the lineman. I'm not going to change a bunch of rules for the lineman. Well, when we're in this formation, you have to block this guy. When we're in that formation, your blocking rules are going to change. Listen, if we end up getting a receiver and a lineman blocking the same guy, it is what it is. We're going to let it roll. We're going to play fast and let this thing go. Okay. Just a couple more game clips here, and then I'll kind of move on and take this thing a step further. You saw the screen before, same thing. This is like a little 20 personnel jet motion screen, just trying to get the defense into some kind of 3-by-1 check. This defense probably don't get the effect of the boundary safety that we wanted to, but we get good space in there. Nice job by the first puller getting out there, the first releaser, and again, the back making them right. I'm going to try to check in here throughout this thing for questions and kind of answer them as we go. Guys, again, that are asking for the PowerPoint at the end, I'll share my email, and you can shoot me over an email, and I'll just respond back. I got another question here from Al. Any coaching points to the tempo of the offensive linemen hitting their landmarks? We in a general rule, Al, we give them 2 sets, 2 short sets, okay? So if I'm a left guard and I'm in that staggered stance, set, and go, okay? 2 short sets and go. There's not really a count that we put on it necessarily. And the reason that I've done that is that, again, you're always going to get you're going to get a different picture out there every single time, right? I mean, it's so to tell a guy to go 1,000, 1,002, you know, I think can jam them up a little bit. What is your play side tackle rules for your slip screen? Very, very simple, coach, is that he's going to be a vertical setter in a man set. He is indeed responsible for that defensive end, no matter where that guy goes. So if that guy slants down across his face, he's going to try to wash him inside. It may disrupt some of the timing on the inside. What we're hoping is that with that particular movement, that means that there's edge pressure coming, and that we're going to get the screen out there into a pretty vacated area, okay? If the defensive end or end man is a vertical rusher, he's going to slow set and just try to get his inside hand on the inside hip of that player and just run him up the field. And the quarterback obviously knows this is not a step-up situation. He's going to have to drift and move. What are you teaching a play side wide receiver? Yeah, and again, in a man coverage situation, we are going to run that guy off. And the coaching point that we use on that, Robert, is we say route to recognition. So you're actually going to run your takeoff route or your go route until you feel some recognition by the defense. And that may just be hearing people yell scream. And then you're going to settle your butt down and block that guy. If that boundary corner for the number 1 receiver is in a zone demeanor, even if he's a squat cover 2 guy, maybe not the most favorable look, we're just going to go ahead and spider and stalk that guy down in there and just block him and get engaged with him. It may not be the prettiest thing. Sometimes that's a long time to hold that block, but at least there's hands on him and he's not just igniting the screen as soon as it pops out the back door. And then My man, Coach Colton Nicky there says field and boundary. And Andy, we don't change the landmarks for the linemen at all. And again, I'm showing you some of this boundary stuff, but going to the field, all the landmarks are going to remain the same. Certainly the engaging process of the field screen for linemen, it may not happen as fast because there's dropping zone defenders. But again, back to what I said initially about the screens, we're going to try to keep this stuff as simple for the linemen as we possibly can, rep the heck out of it, and let the skill guys kind of go to work, okay? I'm going to answer a couple more here. It's a bunch of questions. I love them. Have you ever used tackle, guard, and center for your screen releasers compared to guard, center, guard? The answer is definitely yes. Years that you start really living in the screen world, you watch the New Orleans Saints, they've got a great, what I call pizza rules for the frontside guard and tackle, and that anytime there's a spiking 5 technique, the tackle goes and the guard ends up becoming essentially the defensive end. Some teams, I've even used that for big edge pressure teams when a linebacker would actually load himself on the end of the line of scrimmage, and I would tell the tackle, hey, go ahead and let the 5 technique go. The play side guard's going to take a chunk of him. You can take a chunk of the blitzer and actually release out of there because the quarterback's going to beat it on the back end anyway. So again, 100% you can do that. I'm talking initial install. Let's get the screen game rolling, and then you can build it however you want to build it. Last question I'll answer here, and then I'll move on to some other one. Favorite situation to call this? I don't know that I have a favorite situation. I would say, everyone can say, well, 3rd and long, people call screens. I think an underrated part of the field to use the screen game in, I'm going to show you some clips here in a minute, is the tight red zone. I know you're getting some man and stuff down there, but man, you're getting some pressure. People are going to try to +1 you. You got a chance to pop quick little screens down in there in the tight red and get some cheap, easy touchdowns. So I really love doing that. Last one, I'm going to show this flip screen here, and then I'm going to move on to a different screen just based on where we're at time-wise. And the reason that I wanted to show this clip is, again, I thought this quarterback does a really good job here of the throwing angle, okay? And just going back here, just nitpicking some of these guys, don't like the left guard bringing his left arm into it. No need to with a 2-eye, right? I mean, he can post that 2-eye and get out to his landmark. Center's okay. This is a perfect example, where the right guard, we want him to set to the screen side, but he's almost got a 4-eye on him. If I'm nitpicking him, I certainly would just like him with a little bit more of a vertical set to try to punch that wide 3, that 4-eye guy, rather than turning his whole body. Now he's got to come back and rat kill. I mean, that's a 6'5", 325-pound right guard. I mean, when his body gets in that position, you can see me freeze it. For him to get back here and kill a rat, it's going to be tough. And then the running back here, I don't like the panic feet. See how his feet just kind of separate there. Don't really like it. But again, I do like the demeanor of the back. Again, accelerate, hesitate, accelerate. But look at the quarterback. I really like this. His eyes are good. And look at the lane that he finds. Boop, right? And he just zips that ball in there, and he gets the ball on the back's body fast. To me, right now, you're coaching the box on the sideline. This is going to be a good screen, no matter how it's blocked up, because the back is in space with the ball on him now. Okay. I'm going to buzz through some of these here. These are all some slips. Okay. Again, just showing you some, kind of some other ways, just formationally. This is like a little FSL 11Y off, and now we're faking, the tap pass, and I think the quarterback probably can do even a better job with the tap pass. But again, just trying to get some rotation, trying to get some bad eyes, and popping the screen back. This is a good coaching point here that, it's amazing that you no matter what happens in the offense, everything needs to be drilled, right? So the quarterback has good eyes here. Really, you've got a pretty good productive screen. This is a nice job of the lineman sort of figuring this out on the perimeter, right? So the first releasing guard here sees that there's nobody in his screen side alley. So what's his rules? Eyes vertical, knowing that pursuit is coming from inside out. So he stops. he actually gets, I'm going to slow this down, he actually gets a chunk of that backer. But because the ball location is so poor here, it allows the linebacker to get back involved with it. The running back ends up making a nice play and breaking a tackle. But this is a perfect example of why you want this screen on the run, is because if those blocks coming from inside out aren't great, this running back at least would have had a chance to catch this thing on the run, right? And then be able to use this receiver's block however he saw fit on the perimeter, okay? My hope, as you guys are watching this, because I truly don't believe that I'm showing you anything revolutionary here, but it would just be the devil's in the details, right? Some of these buzz phrases, some of the alignments, even the back, like look at his first step. I love it. That's exactly what you want. When we run a six-man jet protection, that's exactly the back's first step. It's exactly what he should look like. That he's nice and square, really nice job, good sets by the lineman. And again, he's an all-conference running back. You want the ball in his hand. It's not the prettiest thing in the world, okay? This is a clip from Northern Iowa here. And again, we've seen this clip before. Love the rotation that you're getting here. Another good point of why the right guard here has to do a great job pre-snap of knowing who's in his screen side alley, right? And so I would take this back to another coaching point that I mentioned earlier. In my opinion, you love this look. You love these screens against blitz, right? You want interior pressure, edge pressure. Even to me, it's better against fire zones because there's not somebody specifically responsible for the back, whereas there are in blitz man. And then I often say the toughest looks are drop 8, right? Just because there's a lot of bodies back there on the perimeter, but you can still do it because of the rules of the lineman. So right guard, look how disciplined he is, right? He's not chasing, knowing that guy's going to come to him. Boom. Not the prettiest cut in the world, but he gets the guy in the ground. I love the center here, right? Releasing to his landmark, 5 yards on the hash, right? And he just throws. Both defenders up top are essentially forced out the back door, right? The rat killer peeks back right here. I'm just going to freeze it. You can see it. There's no rat, right? If there's nobody in your screen side alley, in this case, there's no rat. Get your eyes vertical, okay? Good job by the quarterback, just getting this ball on the receiver right there. Coach Koltanicki, that's for you. That is your new assistant receiver coach there, Saquon Barkley. Excuse me, not Saquon Barkley. But he's making a great catch here, man. Great run, great score. Okay, let's move on here. Let's see here. I'm gonna give you guys one more little screen here. Okay, so let's take it a step further now, right? So we've got the slip screen that we had cooking. Now we're going to take it a step further, and we're going to install a double screen, right? So you guys look at this picture, coaches. I'm sure a lot of people are running this type of screen. To me, this is an easy opportunity for the quarterback to get a completion. Okay, so when we look at this. And again, formationally doesn't matter, but the 3 interior releasing linemen are all going to have the exact same rules, right? So we're saying that this rocket screen or China screen, however you tag it, is going to the left here, and nothing's going to change for them. Typically, in a general sense, I like running this rocket screen to a 2-by receiver because I can take the number 2 receiver and again get that corner really taken care of. Remember what I said earlier, this guy right here disrupts more screens than you'd like in space. So I can go and I can teach this number 2 receiver that we are really going to try to cut or kick out what I call the high hip. And again, going back to these rules, we want these guys going out the back door, right? We want them forced out the back door, okay? Nothing changes for the 3 interior linemen. We're going to take it a step further and say now the backside tackle of this particular screen is going to release flat to the field force defender, right? The field force defender. We're going to take the number 2 receiver to the field, and he's going to have a push crack on the first backer inside the back box. The coaching point for this guy is the V here, is what I call feather and seal. And the drawing really should look more like this, where he's going to come up and almost feather this guy, bluff block him, right? And then come inside and try to pin that Mike. Push, crack, feather, and seal, some of those similar terms that are used. Okay, but the beauty of this screen comes in really the double read for the quarterback. So the quarterback's going to be taught to take big three footwork with neutral eyes, and he has one job. Very simply, we want to throw into pressure here. Okay, so again, this drawing's dead in the middle of the field. If he got pressure from his right, he's going to try to neutralize those interior defenders and pop that little swing flare screen out to his right. If he gets pressure from his left, he's going to take his big three footwork and try to throw that little China rocket screen on rhythm, okay? And this is a screen typically that from a timing standpoint, we're not going to necessarily drift on this screen. I'd like him to throw this on the third step, whichever way he's going, always knowing that somehow, some way, make the play type throw here, okay? So here's double screen. QB rules, I just talked about it. Eyes and head neutral is what we really want, okay? Don't want to tip this screen off. Cannot be a drifter because this ball is going to the perimeter now, right? So, again, you're going to have some wide rushers, things like that. You cannot drift back and throw this football with any type of velocity, okay? The receiver on the rocket, we call run the ring. Work vertical off the releasing lineman's tails. Once clear, the ball carrier must push the boundary. We use 2 steps here out of the stance. Okay, we're an inside foot up stance. We don't change our stance here at Albany with the receivers in terms of inside or outside. We're always inside foot up. And so he's going to take 2 hard steps vertical, pound the drums, and then run the ring. Okay, and then that number 2 is a middle screen here that I'll show as a complement off of this. Okay. All right, so when we look at this here, again, it's just some practice film, motioning here. And now what we're going to do is we're going to double call this screen, probably a little contradictory to the drawing I just showed. But we're now actually going to get the swing or flare screen going to the left, okay? And we're going to get the rocket screen going to the right. But I want to get it to my slot here, right? This is the faster guy, a little bit tighter space. So we're going to tell this receiver to go ahead and route to recognition, okay? We're going to tell this receiver down here that you've got the feather and seal, okay? Again, the back side of the screen tackle releases flat for the forced player, okay? Now, just like on a 2x2 rocket, I'm going to take the interior guy, right? In this case, the tight end. He's going to work for what I call the high hip, right? We want this nickel Sam type player to truly force this play. And then we'll have all these same landmarks here, right? So 5 yards top of the numbers, 5 yards to the hash, and then we're still on the rat kill here. Okay, again, another way to kind of get the ball to the playmaker in space. All right, let's just go to the point of attack here real quick. The Y off tight end. Good job here. Really starting to break down in space. And you can see in this particular case that man defender, right? Train pigs, man. He's going to chase that tight end out there. And the tight end does a great job. And we talk about this a lot in the meeting room, the screens, is pick a guy and get the guy. Don't be indecisive out there. When you try to block 2 or, well, coach, I saw this guy, so I just pick a guy and get the guy, and then know that you have help coming here to clean up some trash. The tight end does a nice job. You're just locking on and let the lineman go. Let the lineman figure it out. Good job here by the first releasing lineman. Again, talking about the point of attack. Don't chase that stuff inside. Just keep going. Keep going, right? The second releaser here, the center, does a nice job here in an interesting way of not blocking blitzers, right? If I'm nitpicking the center, I probably would have had him take a little bit more of a chunk off that mug backer there that you see and not have the right guard step down in, but it works out. The rat killer here does a nice job setting to the screen side and staying flat. Again, getting a piece. And then what I really like about the play is, remember I told you the quarterback, I'd like him to throw this on big 3 rhythm and really dart this ball on him. Boom. Right here, right now, we all know this is going to be a productive screen. The fast player has the ball in space with bodies in front of him. Now he's got to go figure it out, right? He's got to go figure it out. So a good way here to get your slots involved. Okay. Another way here, somewhat of an FSL type formation. I mentioned earlier, kind of faking the tap pass. Sometimes that induces a lot more action from the defense than other times. Here, you know, we kind of got the defense in a hard spot here with a tough formation, and we get the boundary blitz. You look at the surface here. I mean, you couldn't ask for more space and a better surface here, and we don't necessarily execute the play. I would critique the receiver here, that rather than coming back towards the quarterback. Remember, I said we want him to run the ring, right? So he should be coming downhill. The quarterback's expecting him to come downhill a little bit more. And now once he catches that ball, he's got to make a decision. Listen, the linemen aren't out for me. I'm just going to beat this guy. Or I can catch the ball here knowing that I've got some players releasing and I can come off of their tails. And even if I'm in here with this type of screen, that's okay. That's okay. We can live with that to let those guys work for them. Okay. I'm gonna pause this just for a second and try to catch up on a couple questions here. If you have inside pressure from that play side defensive end, what are your teaching points to the running back? You know, of course, there's all kind of stunts and stuff that can jam these screens up. And anytime you're in 3rd and long type situations, you know, the defense is, and they're going to be in a drop 8, right? What is every defensive coach saying? Hey, be ready for draw, be ready for screen. So those are all tougher situations. Again, I would go back to all those coaching points and rules for the back. That's why I'm so big on those little set of rules, because you can always go back to it. Running back, the 5 technique is spiking or being washed down inside. Remember, accelerate, hesitate, accelerate. Remember the second coaching point, a hop, skip, and a jump. And your first rule is you must be clean. You have to be ready to get in a little bit of a street fight, right, in that A-gap cylinder to get out of there. That's your job, running back, right? Your job's not to block anybody. Your job is not to chip or take a chunk out of somebody's. That we absolutely need you clean. And if you're tangled up and we've got a good surface for the screen, then you've done us no good. So again, that's into some drill work with the running back coach taking the time to do that. Backs turning in or out after the catch. Remember, we're going to catch that ball on the run. So they're actually, in some of these pictures, are turning out towards the sideline. And then again, like I showed some of this video, the quarterback should also take them in that particular direction as well. For high school coaches, would you recommend as the guard's aiming point since you can't cut in high school? I wouldn't really change the aiming point. And I'll be honest with you guys here, we're not really teaching the cut a ton anymore because of the rules, right? That we have this 5-yard rule now. So we're not changing it. We're more now teaching that guy to run to your landmark as fast as you can, get big, and just try to get a piece of that guy. Even if it's certainly we'd all love the road grader out there. And I've seen clips on social media where these linemen are coming out and just almost bucking defensive backs in space. That's great. We'd all love it. But really, for a screen to get started, he just needs to get a piece of a guy, get big out there. We talked to him. You heard me mention with the receivers, but we teach it to the linemen as well, to spider out their stance, to start to widen out their stance in space when they get to that landmark, and force that defender, right, to make a decision if he doesn't want to try to go through you. And then again, this is your playmaker. He's got to make you right out there. Okay. Do you send the running back in motion for receiver screens? All day. I mean, any way you can get some bad eyes with some fast motion to try to get the ball out, 100% I would do that. Do you ever tag a concept backside of the screen, sort of a screen pass option to give a wrinkle to the double screen? 100%. And what I would answer that is your easiest way, going back to the slip screen, if you wanted to take a step further. Again, what I'm showing you here is, and I'm just telling you guys, even in Division I, it's hard to get all these screens cooking. You've got to get these things going. You can't just say, well, we're going to run a screen and hopefully our guys get to their landmarks. But within a basic 3x1 set, and you see the Saints doing this all the time, and we've done it here as well, is to put that 3x1 stick concept to the field, right? So if I show you this, and I'll just draw it up. I think I'm going to motion this guy. Okay. So if I were running this, if I had my back set here, I'm just going to draw it up, right? And I got my slip screen going back here, okay? That we would put the stick concept here to the field, right? Everyone in America runs this type of concept out of 3x1 and tell the quarterback, hey, just read the mic, right? If the mic's occupied with the stick, or he's worried about 3 vertical and he's drifting or he's expanding or walling, hey, great, let's throw the screen. If the mic takes off with the back, because remember, we're going to set the back away from the screen, he takes off running, well, just replace him with the stick right there. So I think that's a really easy one to do. And based on how you're teaching the footwork with a quarterback, you definitely have the ability to do that and not worry about your guy getting hit. Okay, here's another double screen here. You can see the receiver down here into the boundary, not really correct, right? In the perfect world, I want him taking care of that guy. This guy's going to come out for the force, which could be the corner, could be this defensive end expanding for that type of screen. And then going back to the double screen here with the rocket and the swing, and again, and this is in the quarterback's rules that I shared with you there, if there's any doubt, right, because remember, his first rule is to throw into pressure. But if there is no pressure or you're not sure who's pressuring, just go ahead and work the rocket side. You got more bodies coming out that way anyway. It's hard to be wrong throwing to that, right? Get that ball out there and get some space. Get that receiver the ball in space, okay?
Coach, I hate to cut you off, but you got just a minute or two left, and then we got to get the next guy in.
Okay. I'm gonna share this up here for anybody listening. But my email address is on the UAlbany website as well. But it's just jhdavis@albany.edu. If you guys would like this, certainly I hope it helped you. They're telling me here I got about a minute left. But really appreciate you guys coming on. Again, if you want this emailed over to you, I certainly can do that. I'm gonna pop one last screen up here on the screen for guys that are very courageous this time of year. And once you get all these screens going, and you saw my tight end coach, Coach Byam, who does a great job for us, said that this was sort of the screen of the year in the NFL this year. And we've gotten it going a little bit here. Let's see if I can just pop up this drawing for you guys here real quick before the end. I mentioned some of these screens in the tight red. But here's the last screen I'll show you. I jumped ahead here. Now, I may not be able to give it to you guys here. Let's just give me a second here. I'll try to just throw it up there just that way if guys got a question on it. But in a general sense, here's what this screen looks like. Okay. And you can see in this particular game, right, this is a great screen to call. We're up by 3, 3rd and 7 with 2:12 left. We're in 4-minute offense, right? I mean, we're trying to prevent this team from getting the football back. And so, we're a big sprint team. So the quarterback's setting up the sprint, and we're going to use this little throwback screen and pop this throwback screen back. Really, really cool screen. You can do it on the backside with some tight ends. You can do it motioning receivers in and out. You can see here's a clip from Wheaton College back in the day with a 3x1 nub, right? Our tight end back then was a really, really big athletic guy. Quarterback sprints, and we popped that little throwback screen back there. Again, a lot of the rules to the linemen, the landmarks are all going to be the same. Guys, my time's up. I appreciate it. It was awesome talking some ball in here. Again, if anyone needs anything, please reach out to me, and appreciate all you guys. Stay safe. Many blessings on all your families.
Coach, thank you very much for taking the time out of your day to sit down and talk some ball with us. I know some people are sending you their emails. I think it's probably easier if they just email you if they want anything. So again, thank you very much, Coach, and we appreciate you coming on.
Thanks, guys.